You know, one of the strangest and yet most natural things that happens on the path of awakening is this simple fact. You start to change in ways the people around you do not. And this creates a very unusual situation. It is like watching a caterpillar slowly turn into a butterfly while still crawling among caterpillars that are perfectly happy to remain what they are. They are content with leaves and branches. You, for reasons you cannot fully explain, feel wings growing where there used to be only weight. I want to talk about this because almost everyone who begins to truly wake up meets this place sooner or later, and it can become one of the most isolating, confusing, and, in a very real sense, dangerous phases of the journey. Not always dangerous to your body, although history shows that sometimes it is. Rather dangerous to everything that once gave you belonging, identity, and a sense of safety. Let us begin with something very simple. Growth is not comfortable. It has never been comfortable, and it never will be. When a lobster outgrows its shell, it has only one option. It must let the old shell crack and fall away, and for a time it lives soft and exposed until a new shell forms. During that period, it is vulnerable. Every predator in the ocean would gladly turn a soft-shelled lobster into a meal. Yet, if the lobster refuses to shed its shell, if it clings to what used to fit, it cannot grow. It stays stunted, trapped inside armor that has become a cage, unable to become what it was designed to be. Human beings are not so different. We also have shells. They just look like beliefs, identities, roles, relationships, habits, and ways of understanding the world. As you move through life, you outgrow these shells. You outgrow certain beliefs about who you are, what success means, what matters. You outgrow certain relationships that once felt like home but now feel like a tight mask. You outgrow ways of seeing reality that used to feel solid but now seem too small. And when that happens, you too become vulnerable. You lose the simple comfort of the crowd, the warm blanket of conformity, the dull safety of being just like everyone around you. This rawness, this exposure is what I mean by danger. Now, what does it actually mean to outgrow the people around you? It does not mean that you have become superior, that you are more evolved or more important. That is a trap many fall into, and it is not a sign of awakening at all. It is just the old ego wearing spiritual clothing. Outgrowing others simply means that you have begun to notice things they do not yet notice. You are asking questions they have not yet asked. You have stepped even one step outside the shared agreement of what is real, while they remain safely inside that shared story. Maybe you have started to question the values everyone seems to accept without thinking. The chase for wealth, status, and security at any cost. The endless accumulation of possessions. The constant diet of distraction and entertainment that fills every spare moment. Maybe you have begun to feel that these things do not deliver what they promise, that they cannot fill the space in you that aches. You may see that these pursuits are symptoms of something deeper, a kind of spiritual hunger, a misunderstanding about what life is and what we are. Or perhaps you have had experiences that cracked the old story wide open, maybe through meditation, deep contemplation, heartbreak, crisis, loss, psychedelics, or some spontaneous opening you never saw coming. In those moments, you got a glimpse that reality is far more mysterious, far less fixed, far more tied to consciousness than the solid external world everyone takes for granted. Perhaps you have seen through the illusion of being a separate self, or at least felt it wobble. You caught a glimpse behind the curtain, and now you cannot unsee what you saw. When this happens, you find yourself in a very strange position. It feels as if you are living in two worlds at once. There is the conventional world, the world of commerce and politics, of bills and routines and social games. The world in which everyone is playing roles, acting out scripts, taking it all intensely seriously. That world still exists and you still have to function in it. And then there is this other layer, this deeper dimension that is always present, quietly humming underneath everything, but that most people never notice. A kind of quiet depth that makes ordinary life look strangely thin. You now have to learn how to move in both realities. You must learn two languages, the language of the marketplace and the language of the mystic. You must learn, as the old phrase says, to be in the world, but not of it. And that is extraordinarily hard, because these two worlds operate on different rules, different values, different ways of making sense of experience. The people around you, your family, your friends, your co-workers, are still fully inside the conventional framework. Their minds are busy with careers, mortgages, social status, reputation, plans, next holidays, the next purchase. These used to feel very important to you as well. But now, for you, they may feel strangely shallow, off to the side, not quite touching the core of what matters. It is not that you have become cold or uncaring. It is that you sense deeper questions underneath everything. You feel that there are more fundamental issues at stake. What is a good life? What is a true life? What is this consciousness that is looking out through your eyes? But here is the problem. You cannot simply sit everyone down and tell them what you have seen. You cannot casually lean over dinner and say, "By the way, I realize the separate self is an illusion, and we are all expressions of one consciousness looking at itself." Most people will look at you as if you have lost your mind, and in a way, you have. You have lost the conventional mind, the socially trained mind. You have let part of that structure dissolve, but you have not yet found clear words or stable forms for what is emerging in its place. It is still tender, still forming, so you stay quiet, or you speak in hints and metaphors, or you start searching for people who might understand. This is where the isolation begins. The people you have known all your life, the ones you love, start to feel as if they are living in a different reality than you. The conversations that used to feel nourishing now feel oddly thin. You are looking at life through different lenses, and the colors no longer match. They sense it. Even if they cannot explain it, they feel that something in you has shifted. You are not fully on the same channel anymore. You no longer play the game with the same enthusiasm, the same unquestioning faith. And this can make them uncomfortable, because if you can step outside the shared story, maybe that story is not as solid as they thought. Maybe the life they have built is not as secure as it appears. That is frightening. So, they react. Some people will try to pull you back into the old shape. They will try to normalize you, to squeeze you back into the version of you they are used to. You have changed, they will say, and it will sound like a criticism, not a celebration. They may call you strange, impractical, naive, irresponsible, self-absorbed. They will remind you of your duties, your obligations, your role in the family or the community. They will do almost anything to push you back into the box you have started to outgrow. Others will not fight you, they will just drift away. They will find your new interests boring or too intense or too abstract. They will say things like, "You are always so deep now," or "Why can you not just relax and have fun?" The conversations that used to run easily now feel forced and surface level. You share less and less. The friendship slowly dries up, not through a big argument, but through a gentle, sad, fading, and some, especially those deeply attached to a particular religion, ideology, or worldview that you have outgrown, may respond with open hostility. If you were raised in a strong belief system and have begun to question it, your existence itself can feel threatening to those who still depend on it. To them, you are a heretic, a backslider, a lost soul, someone to save, fix, argue with, or avoid. Your presence shakes their foundation. That is the danger I am speaking about. Not only the rare danger of physical harm, but the much more common danger of losing your sense of tribe. We humans are social beings. We need connection. We need to feel that we belong to something larger than our individual lives. We need to feel understood, accepted, seen. When you outgrow the worldview and emotional climate of the people around you, you risk losing much of that. So you may ask, why not just keep quiet? Why not wear a mask? Why not maintain the old image on the outside and keep your discoveries in a private inner room? Many people do exactly that. They live in two layers. On the surface, they play the conventional role, and underneath, they watch the whole thing as a kind of theater. In some situations, this is wise. You do not need to announce every insight to everyone. As the old saying goes, you do not shake someone out of a pleasant dream unless the house is on fire. But this strategy has its own price. First, it is exhausting. Living a double life means constantly checking your words, editing yourself, pretending to care deeply about things that no longer move you. It splits you. The integration you were seeking through your spiritual work becomes impossible if you are always turning away from your own truth. Second, it is inauthentic. And authenticity, living in alignment with what you have genuinely seen, is central to any real path. If something has shown itself to you as real and you deny it in your actions, what was the point of seeing it? You become like a person who has found a great treasure but is too afraid to use it, so they bury it again and go on living as if they were poor. Third, and maybe most mysterious, your very presence speaks even when your mouth does not. People feel energy. They notice tiny shifts in tone, in your attention, in how you respond under pressure, in what makes you laugh, in what you take seriously. If you have really shifted, it will show in 1,000 small ways, and so you find yourself in a true dilemma. You cannot go back. You cannot unknow what you now know, but you cannot move forward without loss, without shedding skins, without walking through a phase of deep loneliness and disorientation. This is what mystics through the centuries have called the dark night of the soul. It is the passage between the old life and the new, the death of the caterpillar before the wings fully open. It is dark not because you did something wrong, but because you have left behind the familiar landmarks and the old lights, and the new sun has not yet risen. During this time, you may feel utterly alone. You may wonder if you made a terrible mistake, if you have thrown away everything solid for some vague spiritual dream. You may long for the days when life was simpler, when you fit in without effort, when you did not question everything, when you could just follow the script. But here is what you must understand. This loneliness is not proof that you are lost. It is proof that you are on the path. It is an unavoidable phase in the process of deep transformation. In every myth and every hero story, there is a moment when the hero must leave the village, step into the forest, and face the unknown without the comfort of the crowd. The dragon in these stories is often just a symbol for fear, for the parts of yourself you have not yet faced, for the emptiness inside the old structures, and the treasure they win is your own authentic self, your true nature free from the scripts and conditioning you inherited. You cannot claim that treasure while still clinging to the full approval of everyone who represents that conditioning. You cannot stay fully in the role and meet your own soul at the same time. You must be willing, at least for a time, to stand alone, to be misunderstood, to be criticized, to be called strange or wrong. Now, let us be clear. This does not mean you should go around trying to shock people. It does not mean you should speak down to others or reject everyone who does not share your current level of understanding. That would simply be spiritual ego, another form of separation, another mask. What it does mean is that you accept the natural consequences of your own growth with as much grace and compassion as you can. You understand that people are where they are. that they are doing the best they can with the consciousness they have right now. You do not need to judge them or feel superior to them. You simply recognize that your paths are different at this moment. You also trust that if you are meant to have companionship, if you are meant to have a circle, it will appear in its time. Because here is the quiet gift in all of this. When you outgrow one level, you do not stay alone forever. Slowly, you begin to notice others who have also shed a similar shell. You find a new kind of community, a new tribe, people who speak the same inner language. They understand the strange mix of clarity and confusion you feel. They wrestle with the same questions. This is why seekers throughout history have formed monasteries, ashrams, mystery schools, small circles of practice, not mainly to be elite or exclusive, but because it was almost impossible to go through this kind of inner upheaval alone. They needed people who could say, "Yes, I know this place. You are not crazy. Keep going." These communities are often hidden in plain sight. They rarely shout for attention. They do not need to convince anyone. You tend to find them when your seeking becomes sincere enough, when your loneliness ripens into a true call. Often they appear in unexpected ways, a chance conversation, a book that arrives at the perfect time, a teacher or friend who appears just when you are about to give up. The key is this: do not cling to the old relationships purely because you are afraid of being alone. And also do not cut off every connection in a burst of spiritual pride. There is a middle way. You maintain the relationships you can maintain honestly. You honor your past, your roots, the people who loved you before you began to change. But you do not betray yourself just to keep every connection alive. You do not make yourself small so that others can stay comfortable. And sometimes something quietly beautiful happens. People around you also begin to grow. They notice a new steadiness in you, a quieter joy, a different way you handle stress. They see a light in you, and they want to know where it comes from. They start to ask questions. They start to open. Then the relationship does not end. It transforms. It becomes deeper, more honest, more awake. But you cannot force this. You cannot make anyone grow on your schedule. Your job is not to drag other people up a mountain. Your task is to live what you have seen as sincerely as you can, to embody the truth that has touched you, and to let others choose. Those who are ready will recognize it. The rest will drift away, and you must let them go with as much love and gratitude as possible, grateful for the role they played in your story, even if their part is now complete. The danger of outgrowing everyone around you is real. You may lose friends, communities, even parts of your family. You may walk through seasons of deep loneliness and doubt. You may wonder again and again, was it worth it? But from the other side of that valley, those who have walked it will tell you this: on the far side of the loss is a kind of freedom and authenticity that cannot be traded for anything. What you gain is yourself, not the self you built to earn love, to fit in, to impress, to obey. Your deeper self, the one that was there before the roles and will be there after them. When you taste that, you realize that you were never really losing anything solid. You were losing illusions, masks, false identities. The relationships that are real, the love that is real, the community that is real, either remain and deepen, or they appear anew, aligned with who you are becoming. So if you find that you are outgrowing those around you, know this: you are not the only one. Even in your solitude, you are walking a path many have walked before. This in-between state, this feeling of living between worlds, is temporary, even if it feels endless right now. The courage it takes to keep growing, to stay true to what you have seen, even when it costs you comfort, is the mark of a real inner warrior, a true seeker of truth. The caterpillar does not get to keep its old body and still become a butterfly. Something has to die for something new to live. There is no way to bypass that. Yet what emerges from that death, fragile at first and then strong, is more beautiful, more free, and more alive than what was lost. Trust this process. Trust your own growth, and trust that life, in its quiet intelligence, is guiding you exactly where you need to go, even when the path leads through darkness and uncertainty before it opens into light.